I don't know about you, Nicholas, but I am fucking pumped. I am pumped and jacked, baby. Welcome back to TLDR. I'm your friendly neighborhood backcracker, Dr. Joe. With me, as always, is my hunk in crime. Together, we are the Woodward and Bernstein of the DSG, and we have a fucking action-packed October solicit for everyone today.
Yeah, and somebody's apparently trying to get pumped here. I don't know what this is about. Like, are you asking me to? We're doing this virtually, just so everybody knows. Like, we're not in the same room, so I don't know what Joe's talking about when he says pump.
Well, I'll tell you what. And we'll talk about this just a second. But you had said the word "get off" to the person we were interviewing yesterday, and that gave me quite the chuckle.
Yeah, that was something. Yeah, we had aside from me maybe getting a little vulgar with Kieran Gillen and Stephanie Hans, I thought the interview went really well. So for those who haven't listened to it yet, we had the creators of Die on, and of course Kieran's done other work, and Stephanie Hans has done a bunch of cover work, and it looks like she's going to do another project with Kieran. And I gotta imagine, Joe, this is just the start for her doing interior pages, as long as she wants to keep doing it. Of course, she doesn't want to just stick to covers, but I'll tell you what, man. That all came together in short time, and Kieran's somebody who we had, he does a bunch of Marvel stuff, of course, but you introduced me to Once and Future. I'd seen it already. I was like, I don't know. I wasn't as on indies quite that hard yet outside of Image. And then you brought me, you went and talked about it on the show. And then at some point, I think it was after we had Scott on, because Scott was the first guest we had on the show, Scott Snyder, for those who don't know. And after that, I think that's when I tried to get Kieran on, and I tried to get him on through Boom. And then I think you had talked about Die at that point, but I hadn't read it. I ended up waiting a little bit longer to read Die. And then in that time, like, I fell in love with Die. We almost had him on through Boom, but then it kind of just petered out. And I just was like, okay, we'll get back to it at some point. We'll find a way down the line. And then as we've kind of been working with Image a little bit more recently, the opportunity presented itself. And then we had him and Stephanie, and it's like, holy shit. And I'm just like, we're both still coming down from it, because it's just like, it was great. We had a blast with the interview, and there was a lot there.
Yeah, a lot to unpack for sure. I mean, it was a dense book, and so unpacking that, especially that final issue, which drops when you're listening to this on Wednesday on New Comic Book Day. It was Stephanie said it was bittersweet, right? Because I mean, this is a book that, for only being 20 issues long, it's 3 years that it first came out. So like, they were really in it for the long haul, and there were long pauses, throughout. But as much as we wanted the story to continue, it was a very fitting end,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not that it's over. He's going to be expanding the world of Die through his through the Die role playing game, but they very much said they could revisit it somewhere in the future. And that's the beautiful thing with this. That's a beautiful thing with just fantasy stories, in general, is that once you've created the world, right, you can go in any sort of direction with it, whether you want to revisit the same characters or just spin something off from another character, because that world is so rich and so vast that they could do anything with it, and it's going to be a knockout.
And it's amazing how, with we see it with Once and Future as well, where Kieran is constantly bringing in these new characters that we're familiar with and different lores and everything, and stuff that we normally wouldn't, like King Arthur, and now what happened in the last issue. We're far enough removed that we can mention that who we saw in the last issue of Once and Future. We saw Medusa, and It's like, well, wait a second. We got Medusa, and we have King Arthur, and we've seen all these other characters too. This is outstanding. So it's going to keep growing. But at the same time, as much as we love Dan Moore's artwork, it has a very different vibe. They have created this chaotic world and everything, but it's still happening. Like, it's two worlds merged now. Whereas, as much as that's close to happening in the course of Die, the world of Die feels very separate. And he always talks about like how it's supposed to be expansive, and there's so many parts of Die that we haven't gotten a chance to visit. That, who knows, maybe he does with Stephanie down the line. But Stephanie's art did such an amazing job of like just giving it this crazy feel. And I think he called it, was it elegant that he said?
Yeah.
Or, I mean, her art is like that. And I've said it before too. Like, that isn't normally the style I'm looking for in a comic book, but it was perfect for what we got in this.
Yeah, I mean, it really is gallery worthy art. That she's created, and I would say the difference really between Die and Once and Future, aside obviously from the story, is that again, with Die, it's its own entire world. You can work within that. It's sort of limitless. Whereas with Once and Future, I've said this once or twice before, like at some point there does need to be an end. Like I don't feel like Once and Future could be infinite. You could revisit that world with other characters and tell other stories. There's very much a linear path, while it might, up and down and all around to get there, there's still point A and point B, that it has to get to for the story to conclude.
Yeah, and with Die 20, because not to jump ahead of what's new for this week in comics, we will talk about other stuff too. We have to get to catching up, of course. But with Die 20, you get an ending with the characters within this story, the first characters of Die that we're being introduced to. But it's very, like I think Kieran said, it's soft ending in the course of the interview. And that's absolutely it, because it's a hard ending for those characters, although they could go back to the world of Die for sure. But there's no need to go back to them. I would be stunned if Kieran wants to revisit the world of Die with them. However, there are absolutely other characters that you could bring in. You could just create new characters in the world and bring them over to the world of Die, and it would be perfect. It would be great. I'd love to see it. So yes, or you could just other characters that are in the world of Die, you could go and do stuff with them as well. There are a lot of different directions that they could take this in, and it seems like Stephanie would be open to anything, if they want to do stuff if he wants to do something going forward. So hopefully they do that. I taking a break, totally understand it, or not going back to it too. They don't have to if they don't want to. It'd be fine.
Yeah, well, because I think the RPG, he said it, and Kieran said in the interview that every game that you play is essentially canon because it happens within that world. So there's an element or an aspect to the story continuing on, for those who play the game and do the campaigns and things of that nature. So, and he's going to write more material for that, and this all this stuff. So, like, Die's not completely done; it's just done in this sort of iteration of it.
Right. Yeah. And I'm in, as much as you and I were frustrated when we found out that the fourth arc was their final arc. It's like, oh, well, they brought it home in the end. They seriously. And for those who haven't read Die, all the other trades are out so far. We're not sure when the last one's coming, but if that pops up on our radar, we'll make sure to let you know. But honest to God, Joe, I think that there was only one issue in the course of the entire series out of 20 issues that I was kind of like, all right, I'm not satisfied coming out of that one. And even then, it's just like, it was still like everything else was kick ass. That's the thing. Like the bar was set sky high where like, if you step down a notch, it's like, come on, like this isn't what I fucking wanted. And it was just knockout series.
Yeah, we had a lot of action up until that point. And I think because we knew this series was coming to the end and sort of where everyone was at in that particular issue.
Yeah.
With there not being a lot of action and not knowing how the plane was going to land, I could see why that, I think it was issue 17. Why,
it was 17.
Why it was a little like just lower than some of the other ones. But then where they went from that point on.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. And I would imagine too, for a lot of people, when you look at 17, or when you if you go back and read it for the first time and you just binge it or whatever, you're probably not going to feel that way about 17 like I did, or like you and I did, because it's just, we're going at that point, we're both reading it week by week and everything. So it's sad to see it come to an end, but satisfying ending. And maybe they dabble. The world of Die will be dabbled with continuously going forward with whether it's for the game, and maybe we get another story. But those characters, I'm happy if we never see them again, as much as they were interesting characters.
Yeah, they achieved everything and accomplished, and sort of, like there's no more growth for those characters.
Absolutely. Now, I do want to ask you though. I was stunned when we asked Stephanie who her favorite character was, or who like resonated with her most, because she said Chuck. For me, and now not necessarily the character that I resonate most with, but the one that I found most interesting is Ash. I mean, that's my favorite character in the story. He's the one that the straw that stirs the drink. Do you feel the same way?
Well, I think Ash is the most complex character, no doubt, because dealing with sort of dual things with, with that character.
Legitimate. Yeah, literally. Yeah.
I loved Matthew.
Oh, okay.
I love Matthew, the idea of grief and sort of what Kieran was talking about, with these emotional nights, with the grief nights, right? Grief is just one of,
Dude, he brought that shit about the joy nights. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, he really blew my mind with that. And then he blew my mind when he said, well, Chuck is Gollum. And I go, oh,
yeah,
fucking right.
Wow, that was awesome. Yeah, that was amazing. Yes, I mean, but that just shows like his mind too. Like, and for those again who haven't listened to the interview yet, can't recommend it enough. But you think that Joe or I can go off the rails with something that we're talking about? Lord knows that I do it a ton. Kieran is like next level, but it's all brilliance. Unlike you and me, where it's ramblings of madmen. With him, it's just like holy shit. Like this guy's playing Chinese checkers, and we're playing regular checkers. Just makes no
tiddlywinks.
Jacks or something. So, anyways, we so can't say enough great things about them. Hopefully, we get a chance. Who knows what's going on with Stephanie for sure next. We're not sure what her next project is. We know her and Kieran are talking about something, but hopefully, we can check in with her down the line. It seems like we may have a chance to talk to Kieran again at some point. Of course, we'd love to when it comes talk to him about once in future. We had no time to do that. Usually, we get to talk about a bunch of different work with the writers that we have on, but it was all Die, baby. All of it. And it was great.
Die took up the entire hour. And,
one Eternals question, though. We got one Eternals question.
We did.
Yes, for those who want to hear more about him writing Eternals and with the movie coming out. So we got one in there for you all. But anyways, Joe, we've wasted enough time. It's time to catch up. And truth be told, you only caught up really on one thing.
Yeah, Die.
Yes. Yes. Now
I wanted to reread and get ready for the interview. And
Of course. Now, for me, I did read a few things, and I've read quite a bit of horror stuff recently because I'm trying to get my list ready for Dorktober because they're going to do, I don't know if they're going to do a micro dork or whatever it is they have planned for that, but Joe already has his list set, although you almost revised it. Mine is close to being set. I'm going through two other things that I need to consider that I haven't read yet, but I also finished Bunny Mask, which I want to put on my list, but it's only the first arc that finished, and it was really, really good, and I am going to talk about it on the show, but it's just, like Hotel,
if it's good enough, Nick, if it's good enough, put it on.
But the thing is, though, Joe, like Hotel is an anthology series, and I know we're getting a second Hotel set, and Hotel's one of the books that I have to look over to consider for this list, and that's one I had put off for too long. But with Hotel, like that's where their individual stories, that's different. It has a different vibe to it. So, right?
Well, right. They're
Bunny Mask is one continuous story, and it's going to continue into the second arc. So I feel like me putting it in these rankings is going, like if it was just one thing, like Witches, one short thing, and that's it, that would be different.
But have you read Hotel yet?
I haven't, no.
Right, so there is sort of I talked about this when I talked about the book, there is sort of it does close a loop, at the end of the first book. Like I said, they're all separate stories, but they all come together at the end. Okay,
we'll see how I feel. I mean, I don't want to. Those are books that are in consideration for my list. And there are a few others. I'm pretty. That's a fair point. Like I said, I still got to read Hotel before I make my final decision on that. But Bunny Mask, I will be talking about that. That will be the first book I do for October. Of course, we have TLDR 50 coming up next week. We got something special planned for that. It's going to be a little bit different because 50, of course, is an important issue. I think we're labeling that as our omnibus, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I believe so. Yep.
Yes. So we have all that, and we're still not at what's new just yet, as much as this could be a loaded friggin' issue today. We also have been talking about doing a draft for Scott Snyder's new series of books that are coming up because he's got 8, right? And he's going to be doing, and I heard him talking about it recently in one of his newsletter, things that he does, he has a podcast for it. And he's going to have 3 books coming out in October, and I think it's going to be 3 books. Those 3 books are going to have 2 issues apiece, but they're like loaded issues.
Yeah,
the wait's not going to be that long on my end if I don't get a certain book. But because there's one book we're both, we really are dying for. But then I think it's going to be the same case with the others. I can't necessarily speak to that, but so it sounds like it's going to be essentially 4 issues, but they're double-sized issues.
Basically, we're getting 3 of the 8 books by the end of this year.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And then the other ones, I
think the other ones are in December, I thought.
Well, if you look closely, it says December, 12/31/22, 12/31/22. So they all said 22. So I don't know if that was a typo or if that was we'll just put this date there because it could come anytime within that year.
That's fair. Yeah. Okay. So it's so unclear on that one. Got it. Okay. So either way, with these books, Joe and I want to read all of them. There's no question about it. It's Scott Snyder. Of course, we like his work a lot. We've had him on the show more than anybody so far. And we want to read these books. And then of course, when you got the artist that he's attached to for all this too, it's like, oh, of course. But we also want to do the books on the show like we do with everything else. And we want to stick to our rules. And the original rules of this show were that you are only going to we only can talk about books that the other person has not read in their entirety. Now, we may read the first issues, but we can't read the entire things because if we ever want to have a conversation with Scott about these down the line.
Right.
But we got it. So we're going to draft these. Joe and I decided on this. I think this was your idea, Joe. And I got to find that coin. Oh, where it is. So we're going to flip a coin. Joe and I have not decided yet who is going to get the first pick. Okay, we're going to go 1-1, right? Or we're going to do serpentine style.
No, we'll just go back and forth. There's only 8 books here. We'll just go back.
Okay, back and forth. Okay, so the books that we have as options, we have Demons by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. Joe, why don't you read all of these off?
Okay, so we have Demons, Snyder and Capullo. This drops next week. Do you want me to do the synopsis for these?
No,
as well?
no, it's okay.
Clear by Snyder and Francis Manipul.
Mm-hmm.
Night of the Ghoul, Snyder and an artist I'm starting to appreciate a lot more lately, Frank Avila.
Okay.
Barnstormers.
Francisco Francavilla, just so everybody knows.
Yes.
No, you're fine. It's just that I would think that's his full name if you didn't know.
Yeah. Barnstormers by Snyder and another great artist, Tula Lote. Dudley Dotson and the Forever Machine. This is Snyder and a team I'm not familiar with, Eagle and Castro.
Never mind.
Canary, Snyder and Panesian.
This one looks really good.
Yeah, I mean, they all do, to be honest.
Well, yes.
Duck and Cover by Snyder, and I love the artist here, Raphael Albuquerque.
Yeah, of course, everybody knows from American Vampire, the team there.
And then, baby, Book of Evil, Snyder and Jock.
Yes, I don't know where you stand on all these. I know Capullo is number 1 on our draft boards, but after that, I don't know where you stand, and I don't really care to know because I'm not sharing shit with you. So, because this is a fight right now. We're putting our friendship aside for a quick second. So, of course, I have tails here, heads. Okay, you can at least make out the head side pretty clearly. This is not a two-faced coin as much as that would be appropriate for our show. Joe, you want to call it in the air?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to call it as it lies. I'm not going to do the flip at the end, okay?
Head.
Oh, no, I dropped it.
Dumbass.
This is perfect. Oh, it's spinning now. All right, I'm not looking. I'm going to do a reroll.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Do you want me to do a reroll or do you want me to...
No, flip it. Flip it again.
Okay.
Don't fucking chuck it across the room.
Okay, got it. Okay. You called heads?
Yeah.
Oh, buddy, it's tails.
You're supposed to flip it.
No, I said I'm not flipping it.
Bullshit.
I called it beforehand and I'm not flipping it. I think it was tails the first time too, if I'm being honest. I didn't check.
All right,
it was quick.
All right. Take the goddamn book.
I win. Do you have anything to say before I make my pick? Do you want to make a trade or anything like that?
What I want to say to you is not appropriate for the show.
Oh, well, okay, all right. Then so I got the first overall pick for all these books. God, this is tough. I
already wrote Demons down. You got it, Nicholas.
We have Demons by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo is mine. Go ahead, Joe.
So I'm taking Clear.
You are going to take Clear. Okay, nice. All right, so, now I could go with 2 books in this month, or I could go and make a smart pick for the future because sometimes you got to make wise investments.
I was going to take this book, but I didn't want to wait until possibly December of 2022 to read it.
You know what, Joe? If I had to say this book I'm second most excited for, it's probably Book of Evil by Scott Snyder and Jock. Sorry, not sorry. This is why I didn't want to talk about this shit with you.
No, I was going to take it. I just didn't want to have to wait that long to read it.
Okay, all right. Well, you can take another book for October, so you don't have to wait for that one.
Yeah, I'm taking Night of the Ghoul.
Oh my God, I'm making out like a bandit. I'm going to take Canary. I cannot believe it. I got my top 3 books for this. Well, no, Clear looks pretty freaking awesome. They all look good, but I mean, wow. Yeah. Okay.
So you got Canary. So then I will take. I'm gonna take Duck and Cover.
Okay. Now everybody was really okay. Everybody was really. Hold up, you took Night of the Ghoul, right? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So right now we have Barnstormers and Dudley Datson in the Forever Machine. I think you were really excited about Lotte because I don't think she right. I don't think she's done in interior artwork for a while. But this Dudley Datson thing seems weird. And I wonder, I don't know how Scott always does with weird. Like, we know he does with scary. So I'm actually going to go with Dudley Datson in the Forever Machine.
Okay.
Wow, I made out like a freaking bandit.
Well, that's what
Jeez.
happens when you cheat and you get the first fucking pick.
Hey, man, I'm the one that had the coin. You asked me if I had a coin.
Okay, so you took Demons, Book of Evil, Dudley, and what was the other one you got there?
Book of Evil, Dudley, and Canary. Yep.
All right.
Wow.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, I'll tell you what, though. I mean, I've got 3 books by a tag team that I really love. Like, I mean, yes, I would have loved to have, we all know the goddamn Capullo book was, numero uno.
There's a reason it's number one. That's the first they're releasing.
And I mean, I really did want the Jock book, but
I feel bad.
again, I'm looking forward to reading all these books before you. You get to fucking wait. So have fun with that, because all your books are slated to come out except for one in 12/31/22, according to Amazon. So
hey, man, patience is a virtue, and it's something that I possess. So I'm gonna be able to read Canary before you're gonna have to wait, and you have to wait on Jock, and you're gonna have to wait on Capullo. I mean, dude, you can say whatever you want, but I won this. I don't care what anybody says.
Clear just sounds awesome. That was, as I was writing down the synopsis, for all these books, like I'm like, oh, dude, this one's gonna be really fucking good. So, while you want to, rub my fucking face in it, I'm gonna tell you what, I got some damn good books here.
You did. You absolutely did. All these I'm excited about. I honestly hate the idea of having to wait on any of them, but for the sake of the show and what we do, it makes perfect sense. Anyways, Joe, it is now time, finally, to get to what's new this week in comics. And from DC this week, we have Action Comics 1035, Robin 6, which you, of course, are reading, Batman Superman 33, which I don't know how that's still going on. And I know it was at 33. It's 33? 23. Okay. Superman 78, issue 2, which neither of us are reading. I kind of thought you were going to give this one a look, but it's just not something that necessarily interests me.
So real quick, so I would have decided for the Superman, for these sort of like retro books, for Superman 78, Batman 89. I'm waiting till the trade comes out.
Okay. All right. I'm going to keep reading Batman 89 the whole way through, and it's been solid, but like Keaton's like, I like Keaton, and I know we just didn't change my mind where I praised him a ton for that list that we did, but Keaton's not like someone for me where it's like, oh my God, like his Batman. I love, he's good, don't get me wrong, but I grew up on Bale and the animated series more so than anything. But anyways, we move on. We have Legend of the Dark Knight 5, Wonder Woman Black and Gold 4. I'm reading Batman Reptilian 4 that came out this week. That's solid. It's been, I mean, what am I saying? It's been, that's Garth Ennis. It's been outstanding. That's him and Liam Sharp. I've been loving this series. I will talk about that in the show when this is done. Detective Comics 1034, which you are reading. And then we had a couple of first issues. But before we get to those, tell me what you thought about this week's Superman, Son of Kal-El, issue 3.
I mean, Tom Taylor can't miss right now. He really can't. There's all these father-son moments. I don't know if Taylor is channeling something between, him and his father, or, if he's got kids, him and, he's tapped into something right now, whether it's, Clark and Jonathan, or, it's, Bruce and Dick. Like, there's just these moments in both Nightwing and Superman, Son of Kal-El, that have just been absolutely tremendous. And then the way that this book ended, did you read it yet?
I have not. No, I'm actually 2 issues behind on this, as much as I am going to read this.
Holy shit, the way this issue ended, man, oh man, like I'm telling you.
Well, okay, now I fully intend to read this, but I've only read the first issue. Okay, and of course, things fall behind on stuff. It's going to happen in this, the nature of this show, right? Would you rather I hold off on reading this so that way you can talk about it on here at some point?
I mean, I'll leave that up to you, honestly. I mean, it's really good, and I would love to talk about it when the time comes. But
all right, then I'm gonna. If it's something you think you would want to talk about in this show normally, then I'm gonna hold off on it. Is that how you feel about it?
Let's do it.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Now a book that I thought for sure you were going to read this week, and you don't even like. I understand you could be getting to it, but we have our things marked down. It looks like this is not on your radar. Deathstroke Inc. issue 1 from Joshua Williamson came out this week. I'm surprised. So you don't have interest in this, or
I do. I just didn't get to it, and I forgot
okay.
I haven't read it yet.
So this is and I reviewed this for Geeks Worldwide. This has a feel where it's like it's going to be dealing with real themes and everything like that. And that was kind of what was happening. That's definitely what was happening with Christopher Priest's run on Deathstroke, which I have talked about on this show previously for a full episode. It's going to be dealing with some real stuff there. And basically, for Slade, it's like kind of shit or get off the pot for him at this point with how he's approaching things in life. And I like that. But then, I'm blanking on the artist's name, and I apologize for that. But it has a different vibe to it where with Priest Run, it was more like, I don't want to say epic in the artwork, but it was like, who's the artist on Wonder Girls? It's the writer too. Is it Joelle Jones? I always forget her.
Oh yeah, I don't know off the top.
But it's a similar vibe to that, where it's a little sharper and it has a little more of an action feel. Whereas the art on this one, it's like it does have that action feel, but it seems like it's like there's a little bit more fun that's trying to be had in this series, and I love that. So very glad to see the character back on, and having his own title. And Black Canary is a fun addition too. And then from DC, we also got Batman versus Bigby issue 1, which I read actually a little bit sooner because it was supposed to come out last week. But you also ended up giving this a read too.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. The art left a little to be desired, but it was not enough to detract me from the book. I love the sort of the story here. Again, we're getting more detective stuff. We got a lot of actually good teamwork. And I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call what Batman ever does as teamwork, but at least he was, the one running point, and then everyone else under him was sort of, okay, we'll do this. So it had a lot of good detective stuff to it, which I love from my Batman books.
And in Bigby too, I remember when we first saw it, I was like, who the hell is Bigby? And now it's like, oh, that's who it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't see that coming. So yeah, I thought it was a solid book. I was surprised by it. I'm going to keep going with it. As I plan to keep going with it moving forward. Lord knows that some things we fall behind on, but we go to Marvel. We have Thor 17 out this week. Wolverine 16, of course, by our guy Benjamin Percy, who we had on the show a little while back. Cannot wait for his big thing that he's got planned. That's going to be in January, I think. So we got to catch up with him before that happens. Star Wars 17 Inferno issue 1. And then we got Dark Hawk issue 12 by our guy Kyle Higgins, who we had a little while back. And we asked him, did we ask him about Dark Hawk? Or no, he just brought it up in the course of the conversation. Yeah. He hadn't started yet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we're both reading that. And then Winter Guard issue 2 is also out this week, and I'm reading that book. That's one that has Yelena Belova in it. And so I want more of her if I can get that right now. Boom. We have Something is Killing the Children issue 20. Berserker 5, which it was frustrating.
Yeah.
Part of me is like, I know you're out, and I would not, let me put it this way. I would never tell anybody to stay on this, but there's part of me that's just like, I just want to see what happens. Like, do they ever freaking take that step forward just so I can tell you?
That's how I felt about Batcat, and then I just said, fuck it.
I'm not there yet with Berserker. I'm not, and maybe it's because we know it's going to get turned into a show or a movie, whatever, for Netflix with Keanu and stuff.
I'm going to grudge the fucking show. I'm out on the show.
I'm out on it too. It's very but I still think I'm going to. I read the 5th issue, so I might give the 6th one a try. And if you're in for torturing yourself, the first volume of Berserker is out this week too, which I love. That companies are doing this now, by the way. Like, you have the first issue outside of the first arc, and then you put that out with the first trade. It's great. I don't know why. I don't know if this was always a thing. I feel like maybe I just didn't notice, but I didn't think it was that.
This is something that Boom typically does, and we're seeing AWA do that as well, which is
I think Image is doing it too. And actually, this week Image did it with The Good Asian, right? Because the 5th issue's out. You're reading that. And then the trade paperback's out. And this is a book that I called dibs on, and then you took those dibs from me. So you're gonna have to talk about that on the show at some point.
I forgot about the dibs. I stole the dibs.
Is that still a TLDR worthy book so far?
Oh yeah, I had it underlined to talk about it a little bit more, and then I read 2 other books that I both called dibs on, or at least one of which I've called dibs on. Right before the show started, so I changed which books I wanted to focus on.
Okay, yep. Now from Image, also, of course, we have Spawn 322. Is that 322 this week? And I'll tell you what, the action in this issue of Spawn. Look, usually that's almost never an issue, but seeing this next to Sean Lewis's writing, Spawn versus King Spawn, it's like, man, this is exactly why we needed someone like Sean Lewis, and he's been killing it. But it's just, The art's great, and I'm not gonna drop Spawn like ever, but it's just like
Yeah, it's night and day. It really
I
is.
would just love it if Sean just took over it all. Like just let Todd be like the overarching thing, but let Sean like control the moving pieces. Like you can have Todd be the general and then Sean be like the lieutenant or whatever, however that shit goes. I don't know. We weren't in the military. Then we have Department of Truth issue 13, which of course you talked about in the show a long while back. Die issue 20, which I did review for Geeks Worldwide. We already talked about that before. Undiscovered Country issue 16. I thought this was a solid issue. I didn't think this was necessarily one of the best, but it was good. There are some funny little things in there that I enjoyed, but definitely kind of setting up for something big to happen. I would think the next issue and over the next couple. Also, we mentioned the Good Asian Trade paperback volume 1. Haha, same thing as well. First volume of that as well. We go over to Dark Horse Parasomnia
crossover.
Oh my God, I forgot about Crossover. It's a book I actually want to talk about too. Fuck. I legitimately laughed out loud reading Crossover issue 8 a couple times.
Yeah, especially in the beginning when he said, sorry about that Chip Zdarsky issue.
Oh my God, that was so fucking good. And then the Brian K. Vaughan, you mentioned him in there, and then they just cut him off, and then it's what was it? Like, and just the stuff at the beginning. Like it took a totally different approach to all of it and totally fucking with our heads too. Like Donny Cates is so in his own element right here with this. It's perfect.
Yeah, tremendous.
So good. I mean, like this is a book where this is a perfect example of a TLDR book because it came out and it wasn't on my radar at all. I just didn't think about it. I probably would have heard about it eventually, but you were on it from fucking day one. So I'm so glad you were. And I know you had it vice versa, but I mean, this is what we're here to help everybody else. But honestly, selfishly, like me doing this with you has just been a big help for me. So,
yeah, because you wouldn't know your elbow from your ass if it wasn't for me with these indie books.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. You could have said, yeah, you do the same thing for me, Nick, but I guess I'll just go fuck myself. Okay, cool. Anyways, moving on to Dark Horse, asshole. No, but seriously, like there are absolutely something. I mean, Aftershock and AWA, you were the one that introduced me to those 1,000%. Okay, Dark Horse. Moving on. Parasomnia issue 4, of course, that's Cullen Bunn. Stranger Things, Tomb of Yibuen issue 1. So are you reading this?
I'm planning on reading. I just didn't get to it.
Oh,
I'm gonna at least read the first issue and see how it goes. Like, I've never read a Stranger Things title, and I tell you, I couldn't be any more out on the show. To be honest with you, I'm gonna watch it, but I'm not.
I don't
about it.
Yeah, which the fact they're in that position right now means they're in. I feel like kind of a prime spot to go and wow people and suck everybody back in.
Well, exactly, and I'm hoping maybe like reading the comic, like if it's good, it'll sort of like pull me back in a bit.
But I'm with you. Like, I'm going to watch it, but I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't feel great about this. Children of the Plague issue 1, that's a one-shot. And then The Golem Walks Among Us issue 2, which, are you trying to read this? Like, I don't, because
like we normally get Dark Horse as one of our review, and the first issue, I remember when it came out, I was like, oh, I want to read this, and we just never got a review copy of that. We didn't get a review copy of this, so I'll see if I can get my hands on it, but it sounds fantastic. I definitely want to give it a read, so that's why I threw it on there.
That one's not ringing a bell for some strange reason, but one that does, of course, is The Resistance, and that's the book from AWA this week, Resistance Uprising issue 6, which you, of course, reviewed for Geeks Worldwide.
Yeah, this was just, I talked about the first Resistance arc on the show, and I've been writing the reviews for Uprising now, and it just, J. Michael Straczynski, he's done something that's very difficult in creating an entire superhero universe. And we talked about how Die was sort of like this limitless place where you can that's how he sort of sets up now with the Resistance, especially in this last issue, is that, whether he continues the Resistance title going forward or not, I hope he does, but it's set up so that, this entire universe, like people can just come in and they can write now stories based it off, and it can go anywhere. So it was a fitting conclusion to the arc, and I hope there's more of this to come because it was just absolutely fantastic.
I can't remember if it was this issue or last one that I was reading the review, and it was like, oh fuck, like this really just like they just went and zoomed in and like made and then just like edited everything in, and now it's like this massive world. Now it's like, oh yeah. Now, like, this is exactly what we've known that it's going to become a bigger thing and everything, but now it's like you really can Like what you
Yeah.
were just saying, you can really come in and just start making all these stories and whatever. And with the Resistance too, Axel's talked about like how a lot of these characters that we see in DC, like Batman, was created so many years ago. He's a product of a different time, and as much as he's been changed and morphed through the years, he still originates from a very different era. Where in AWA is trying to keep in mind all the stuff that DC and Marvel has done, but it's like characters for this time now. And that's why Spawn, I think, resonates so well with people still to this day, because he's a lot newer and he's product of a different time than Batman and Superman.
Yeah. And then you combine that with the moths and everything else. I mean, it's not like, these are classics. These are classic superheroes, or this is a classic superhero sort of tale or universe. What's unique about it is that anybody could have powers, and those powers could range, literally they could be anything. And so, when he said don't get attached to any, particular characters, I mean, you kind of see why, because, there can be so many of them, right? And what they're needed to do in any given situation. So it's really unique. It's absolutely fantastic.
We move over to IDW and we have your guy, Usagi Yojimbo, Dragon Bellows Conspiracy, issue 4, of course. That is Usagi Yojimbo is must-read stuff for you at all times. Then we have Aftershock, 10 Years to Death, issue 1. And then Vault, we got a first issue there that you have your eyes on.
Yeah, so this was great. And luckily, because Newbury Comics doesn't always carry, Vault books or
that's weird. The Newbury, so I go to the Time Capsule and Seekonk, but I also occasionally get stuff from Newbury just if I'm over there or whatever, and there's certain things I don't have on my pull list. But the Newbury in Dartmouth has a ton of shit. They always have Vault.
Yeah, it's really hit or miss what Vault books they'll have and what Vault books they won't have. But they had Human Remains #1, and it's a great little horror book. And the premise of it is you cannot display emotions at all, whether it's anger, happiness, frustration, whatever. Because if you do, it almost looks like a black hole. So sort of opens up, and this swarm of, they look like just giant bugs. They kill you on the spot, and it's gruesome.
So you have to be pretty much straight-faced the entire time in this world. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah. And there was one scene where, it's being narrated by this character, and he's sort of, the narration from this character sort of describing, it's just giving you the overview sort of the plot, and he's just sitting there, and he's got this look on his face of just like, it's straight-faced. And he's telling you about how, you have to hold it in. You can't, show any weakness. You have to show restraint. And then he's just watching something on TV. He's like the rest of it. He goes, I can't fucking take it anymore. And he goes outside and he starts yelling and screaming. And his wife is just kind of like stoically following behind him because she knows. And then you see what happens when you display emotions. That's sort of how the book kicked off. And then it was awesome. Wow. This was the same artist that was on a book I liked by Vault. I Walk with Monsters. I talked about that a few times on the show. And the artist is Peter Milligan, who I believe wrote American Ronin for AWA. So a good little team.
Oh, okay. All right. So then that moves us over to Titan before we get into the books that we have coming out in the next month. And normally we don't bring up Titan as much as they do have stuff usually week to week. But there's a book that you are very interested in here. I was surprised by this.
So this completely wasn't on my radar. And when I was at the comic shop today, one of the guys I talk with when I'm there, he's like, "Did you pick up? You grab Gun Honey?" And I go, "Huh? What? Gun Honey? What the shit is that?" And he goes, "Oh, you gotta, you should check it out. It was just optioned, for TV." I was like, I had no idea. So I grabbed it. For those watching, you can probably see another reason why I probably grabbed it. Okay. Two good reasons there. But so it's just, I as soon as I read it right before the show. I said, Nick, dibs. I got this.
Yeah, you did, and I was like, okay, sure, whatever.
So Gun Honey #1. I couldn't find out where it's going to be on, which streaming service, whatever, on TV. But it is awesome. It's going to be a sort of a spy assassin type thriller, and it's only going to be 4 issues. So hopefully I get to talk about this thing, real quick on the show, because the first issue was awesome.
Oh, okay. Well, it's good. The fact that it's going to be on TV already, already option for that says a lot. But I'm glad that that somehow this popped up on your radar so quickly. just it's good. There's a huge value in having people let you know beforehand. And when you have a guy at your local comic shop like that who can help out, makes a big difference. I have some other random indies that I haven't talked to you about yet that I haven't read it yet, but like my guy at Time Capsule throws them my way because like, hey, you might like this, you might like that.
Yeah,
sure, why not? We're always looking for different stuff, right? Because we're the big the big two, of course, Image, Boom, and in AWA, like Dark Horse, most of that stuff. We're not going to miss those things, but there is other stuff that can slip through the cracks. I mean, Aftershock, sometimes that happens too. But anyways, we got to get moving on what's coming out in October. Okay. The first week, of course, the week of October 6th, that is that Wednesday. Joe, why don't you start us off with what we have from Marvel that week?
So from Marvel for the week of 10/6, we have Dark Ages 2. Star Wars War of the Bounty Hunter number 5.
I'm sorry.
End.
I'm sorry. What did you say? The War of the Bounty what?
I said Hunter.
Sounds like you had another thing on your mind. But
War of the Bounty Hunter number 5. As I was saying before, I was so rudely interrupted. This series needs a fucking end. It's been great, but it's been going on for like 3 months. Like.
It's a 6-issue thing, right? And it's supposed to take 6 months. You're just bitter because you made a terrible decision at the start of this event. That's what it comes down to.
No, the problem is I made the decision before taking a look at the last page to see all the fucking books that encompassed it. And but still, like, all jokes aside, the series, the event really does need to end. Like, this shouldn't have gone on more than 2 months, really. Like, it's.
Do you think it should? Well, but Joe, if it's only 1 issue a month, do you think it should have? How many issues do you think there should have been?
Well, again, this is the same complaint I had from last week, right? With the death of Doctor Strange. Like, instead of like having you do all these tie-in, like.
Yes, I understand that.
Just make it one thing. So when I say when I say 2 months, I mean like encompassing all the tie-ins. Like, you know what I mean?
That I agree with 1,000% on that front. I just don't like that in general. Period. Like make it stuff that's like you could do it with Luke Skywalker, but have it be its own like little one-shot thing within the arc. Don't have it affect any mainline shit. I agree with that.
Exactly. This if this was Star Wars War of the Bounty Hunters and that was like the tie, like them just like fine, make it 6 again, 8, 10, 12, whatever, and have it run the course of a year. That's fine. But like the fact that this book is running, 6 months or whatever it is, and then you've got all the tie-ins with it's too long. It's taking up too much time.
Yeah, that I understand. Like from that lens, it makes it seem a lot larger. Absolutely.
Yeah. Defenders number 3, Deadpool, Black, White, and Blood number 3, Symbiote Spider-Man Crossroads number 4, and we have a couple of number 1s here. So I'll rattle off this first one here.
This looks really good. I'm in on this as well.
Yeah, as I just got done bashing fucking Star Wars. Star Wars High Republic Trial of Shadows number 1. And this was written by Daniel Jose Older. A Jedi Master is dead. Another is in a state of complete shock. It's a murder the likes of which the Jedi Order has never seen before. There are no leads. There are no suspects. There is no motive. Yep, I'm in. That's it.
Don't need to hear any more than that shit.
You give me a Jedi fucking crime story?
Yeah.
Yabo, baby.
Yes, please, 100%. I mean, look, the High Republic thing that I've been reading, I think it's just Star Wars High Republic, has been solid. I know I haven't talked about it on the show a ton, but it's been solid. Not knockout stuff. It's definitely gotten better as it's gone along. There was like a lull kind of in that first arc or whatever. But this, I want to give everything from Star Wars a shot. That's like High Republic.
Yeah.
What else is there? There's one other one shot, I think.
Yeah, and one other one here from a friend of the show, Kieran Gillen. Yes. Eternals, Celestia number 1. So continuing on with the Eternals, the property there, getting ready for the movie.
Of course, yeah.
It didn't sound like his books were direct tie-ins to the movie. He was saying like you'll watch the movie and then my books are there to sort of really fill in the gaps. Be a companion piece.
It's nice. I like that. I think it's a smart move, and but it shows that he is still factoring it in to some extent, but he's not solely worried about getting you invested. I think if as much as we thought before, it's like get people interested in Eternals more. Maybe that's there, but also Marvel's looking at it as they're going to go back and look at it too. So now we're going to have all this stuff there. So, I mean, that's great. Marvel playing chess, that's what you want to see. Yep. All right, we got DC Comics for the week of the 6th. Batman 114, Nice House on the Lake issue 5. the second to last issue before the long ass pause. Swamp Thing issue 8, Suicide Squad issue 8, Green Lantern 7, Justice League Infinity 1, The Joker Presents Puzzle Box issue 3, Crush Lobo 5, The Conjuring, The Lover, my favorite series ever, issue 5. And then we have a couple of first issues here. You have Are You Afraid of the Dark Side, issue 1 by Jeremy Hahn, Soul Plumber, issue 1 by Marcus Parks. And then the one that I think I'm most interested in from this week, Arkham City, The Order of the World by Dan Walters. Let me just read the first sentence for you. It's a long one. The Joker's attack on Arkham Asylum left the long-standing Gotham establishment in ruin. Most of the patients killed or missing, and only a handful of surviving staff, a few nurses, a gravely injured security guard, and one doctor. I guess I can't just do the one sentence there. In the chaos of the assault, it is believed that several of the asylum's patients escaped and scurried off into the dark nooks and crannies of Gotham City. Now the Arkhamites walk among us, and it's up to the asylum's remaining doctor, Jocasta Joy, to round up her former patients. I want to give this one a shot. Seems a little bit different. We're messing around with Batman stuff, but Batman's not necessarily there.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
What about Image, Joe?
Image, we have The Me You Love in the Dark, number 3, which I've absolutely been enjoying the hell out of. We have more Walking Dead Deluxe, number 24. And then we have a number 1 from Image that week, A Righteous Thirst for Vengeance, written by Rick Remender.
Who wrote Tokyo Ghost, and that was the artwork was by Sean Murphy. And I talked about that in the show a while back. So fucking good.
Yeah, he's also writing Deadly Class, which is something I've got to read and hopefully talk about on the show at some point. So when an unassuming man stumbles upon a dark web contract assassin's vicious plot to kill an innocent target, he turns himself into one. The professional meets road to perdition in this story of a family's unlikely guardian being haunted by rich and powerful men who are used to getting away with everything. So The Professional, great movie. Road to Perdition, great movie. You take those two elements, you combine them, giving me a story, and it's written by Rick Remender. Yeah, I'm in, baby.
Yeah, that sounds kick ass, dude. That sounds awesome. Wow, I didn't. So we're not over the moon necessarily. Well, no, actually, with the big two we are, but there are some kick-ass indie books because I'm definitely interested in that. And then we go over to AWA. Of course, they usually have one book out a week. We get Out issue 1 by Rob Williams this weekend. Do you want to read off the synopsis for the people?
Yeah. In the waning days of World War II, with allies advancing, a desperate Nazi officer unearths an ancient force of evil that he hopes will turn the tide of battle. A vampire.
In. And you know what? I was in before I read the synopsis, and I know what I think we did like a little news announcement on Geeks Worldwide when this first got announced. But the covers for this shit, I mean, the original first two covers we got were awesome. But then I guess friend of the show, Lisa Wu, has been doing some stuff where they have, I think, is it 3 or 4 other variant covers that they're doing? I don't know if it's exclusive to certain shops or what, but they have some amazing shit that they're doing for this series.
Those skull covers?
Yeah, we tweeted them all out we shared them all on our Instagram page, so make sure you guys go check those out at what's our Instagram account again?
TLDR_pod.
_pod. Okay, I couldn't remember.
It's right up here on the upper corner there, Nicholas.
Oh yeah, that's right above my freaking head. Jesus. Anyways, so yeah, make sure you guys go check that out as well as I get lost trying to meander over there. What about for Boom that week, Joe?
The Mighty Morphin series continues. Issue 12.
So good. So fucking good.
Buffy, not Buff. Buffy the Vampire Slayer number 30, and Magic the Gathering number 7.
I actually fell a little bit behind on the Magic the Gathering series, which I still like, but I gotta catch up. I think I'm just 1 issue behind, maybe 2. Anyways, Dark Horse, one I'm never gonna fall fucking behind on is Lucky Devil. Issue 3 comes out, so that's next week that Lucky Devil comes out. So this is the week of the 6th. Oh, I cannot wait for this thing. The Last Flight Out, issue 2, and then The Worst Dudes, issue 5.
From IDW, we have Star Wars High Republic Adventures number 9. Star Wars Adventures Ghosts of Vader's Castle number 3, and Marvel Action Origins number 4.
From Vault, The Last Book You'll Ever Read, issue 3, another Cullen Bunn indie as his Lucky Devil. Man's on fire with his indie shit right now. And then Money Shot 15, We go over to Aftershock. We have Seven Swords issue 4 and Almost American issue 2. And then they have a first issue coming out. And I just couldn't help but I got to make sure everybody hears this name for this title. This is by Brian Buccellato, I believe is how you say his name. Chicken Devil issue 1 is coming out. Mitchell Moss is about as regular as it gets. He's married with 2 children and co-owns a successful chain of Memphis hot chicken restaurants. It's not the life that screams hero vigilante until he discovers that his business partner is in bed with the mob and owes them $2 million. Unfortunately, Mitch is ill-equipped to be a badass. He's just a guy who makes really good chicken. Can he protect his family from cold-blooded gangsters? Absolutely not. But maybe the Chicken Devil can. This has satire written all over, and that's what I'm hoping this is.
It's either satire or it's gonna have vibes of like Breaking Bad, and maybe like the Chicken Devil is his, his, Walter White, alter ego, you know what I mean? Like, so it could be one of two things. So either way, it sounds interesting as hell.
Yeah, and then actually another company that we don't highlight a ton, although we did talk about The Boys on here before, of course, with the show being such a hit and everything, in the series, that series being outstanding, but of course by Garth Ennis. Dynamite. You want to make sure we highlighted a couple books from them for the week of the 6th.
Yeah, Red Sonja #2. I read the first issue. This is a Red Sonja series written by Mirka Andolfo.
Absolutely fantastic. That's right.
And then you were stunned to find out that this was a comic, so I had to make sure it was on there. Game of Thrones, Clash of Kings, #15.
That sounds really cool. I might give that one a shot. And I'm going to lay off Red Sonja as much as I like Mirka Andolfo, because if you really like this as much as you like, if it ends up being as awesome as you thought, then I want you to talk about it on the show, because that is it's kind of a legacy character, kind of not, but she's just she's one of Dynamite's top ones.
She's legacy enough. I mean, even if you haven't read it, you've probably heard the name Red Sonja. So. Yeah,
and I'd like you to be able to tell me a little bit about her. As much as I know you haven't been always reading Red Sonja. You're going to be more knowledgeable, and let the people know. Move over to the week of October 13th, Joe. Why don't you kick us off with Marvel?
X-Men #4, Iron Man 13. Kang the Conqueror #3. I think I'm out on this series. Star Wars Dr. Aphra #15. Again, more War of the fucking Bounty Hunter shit. Shang-Chi #5. Gamma Flight #5. Karzor, Lord of the Savage Land #2. And then we have a whole bunch of #1s that neither of us seem to be particularly enamored with. We have Darkhold, Iron Man #1. We have Eternals, and that's written by Ryan North. Eternals Forever #1, so more Eternals stuff written by Ralph, not Ralph Macchio, not the Karate Kid, but Ralph Macchio.
Oh, okay. It looks like Macchio. Shit. Okay.
Right? Miss Marvel Tales, Marvel Tales #1 by G. Willow Wilson, and Black Panther Legends #1 by Toki Onabuki.
That's probably how I would have said it. That's as good a guess I think as you're going to get from either of us. That's actually a young adult book. So for those looking for their kids, maybe you want to give that one a shot. Not necessarily for Joe and I. For DC, they got a shit ton coming out this week. We have issue 8 for The Joker and for Batman Urban Legends, which Joe and I are reading both of those. We have Wonder Girl issue 4, which I really need that to pick up. It's been solid, but it's just not taken off. The art's outstanding. At least the lead art is. We have Superman. Nope, that already came out. Batman 89 issue 3. Teen Titans issue 7. Superman and the Authority issue 4. Future State Gotham issue 6, which has taken a nice turn as much as it's still black and white. I Am Batman issue 2. Justice League The Last Ride issue 4. Harley Quinn the Animated Series Eat Bang Kill Tour issue 2. Black Manta issue 2, and Pennyworth issue 3. And then we have Batman the Imposter issue 1 by Matt Tomlin. I'm going to read a little bit of the synopsis here, Joe. Bruce Wayne's mission as the Batman has only been underway for a year or so, but he can tell he's making a difference. Unfortunately, he's made some powerful enemies. All the traditional power brokers of Gotham resent the disruption the Batman has brought to town, and it seems one of them has a plan to neutralize him. There's a second Batman haunting Gotham's rooftops and alleys, and this one has no qualms about murdering criminals live and on tape. Boom. There's a little more to the synopsis, but I'm all set. I'm in. Definitely.
Yeah. This is what we want, Nick. We want Batman, but not Batman at the same time.
Yep.
Right? It changes things up a bit and gives us some new stories to kind of sink our teeth into. Whether it's good or not, I like the idea of it, and I'm looking forward to reading it.
Absolutely. What do we got from Image for the week of the 13th?
Homesick Pilots number 9, Ordinary Gods number 4, Deep Beyond number 9, Compass number 5, and Man Eaters the Cursed number 5. So, I mean, right off the bat, Homesick Pilots, Ordinary Gods, Deep Beyond.
Boom.
Combine that with just half a dozen books from it's gonna be a busy week for Doc.
Yep, we got some busy ass weeks later in this month, especially. It's like I feel like the last couple months have been more top heavy. Now we're getting this one's a bottom heavy month for sure. As much as the week we have the week of the 13th, the week of the 6th, we have we also have the Snyder Capullo book. We have Demons that week. This week you get Clear. Those were all going to be on Comixology originally. Yeah. Eventually later released on from Dark Horse.
And if you are a Comixology subscriber, and I think he even said in his newsletter, if you have Amazon Prime, you'll be able to read these books for free.
Yeah, something to that end. Yeah, if these are all available on Comixology Unlimited. So you get all in this whole thing is you read that and you get all 3 books for the price of one. So it's already worth it in the end. Or if you have a buddy who also has Comixology, that sometimes helps. So I don't know who do that necessarily. We go over to AWA. We have Telepath issue 2. We both like the start of that series. And then there's a first issue coming out that I don't know how we haven't heard about this one yet. I haven't seen. Did I miss something? Like I didn't get it announced. Okay.
I think it did because they've been pumping this one on their Instagram page over the past month or so. This is ETER number 1, written by Dan Panesian, who will be also writing a book with Scott Snyder that'll be coming out, I believe, this month. But anyways, intergalactic virus liquefy. Sorry, I got to read this properly. Intergalactic virus liquefy one of your heads. Feeling a bit off ever since you drove through a black hole? Then visit the ETER, the galaxy's leading medical facility. This interplanetary crew of doctors, nurses, paramedics, and technicians is uniquely qualified to cure what ails you. This just sounds like an off-the-beat, off-the-wall AWA title that I can't wait to dig my teeth into.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Panosian's on Canary. I think that's the book.
Maybe that's what it is.
Yes, I believe that's the ones, which I'm one of the ones that I was very excited for early on. His art looks sick. Then we go to Boom. We have Power Rangers issue 12 and Mamo number 4. Dark Horse, we have May's book issue 2, Norse Mythology 2 issue 5. Black Hammer Reborn issue 4, Unbelievable Unteens 3, Secret Land issue 4, and then we have a first issue for the second arc of a series that I will talk about. Maybe I'll do that this very week. Actually, no, we're doing horror books this week. Shoot. I didn't do it. I wanted to do this in advance, and I guess I didn't time it out well. That's on me. But No One Left to Fight 2, issue 1, and this is by Aubrey Sitterson and Fico Ossio. And I read this series like out of nowhere when it first came out, and I absolutely loved it. I reviewed it for Geeks Worldwide, and I just like it's just like there is some real shit going on in there, but there's also a level of satire, and then on top of it all, Fico Ossio's art is sick. So I will talk about the first arc maybe in November. November. So I know it's not ideal to not do it beforehand, but we're doing horror books for this month, so we want to make sure we get to those. But yeah, I'm very much excited for this. I can't definitely give this a shot if you want a little bit of goofiness and some realness in there as well. But yeah, I've actually talked to Aubrey about this book in the past, and I'm very excited to see him bringing it back. I didn't know they were bringing it back, and I talked to him about something else, and he brought it up. And then it was like we get the announcement like a couple weeks later. I was like, oh shit! So they are bringing it back. Because I was just waiting. Where are we going? Like they left it where there was going to be more. Took Dark Horse dragged their feet. That's why I've been mad at Dark Horse all these years. In truth, but anyways, IDW, Joe. What do we got for the week of the 13th?
We have TMNT 122. We have the Mac and Goo program's favorite book, My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic, number 102. And then I got a question mark next to this one because we got number 3 last month or last week, but Star Wars Adventures: Ghost of Vader's Castle, number 4. I doubt that's accurate. Yep. Star Trek Mirror War, number 1 by Scott Tipton comes out that week from IDW, and then shooting over to Vault. They've got a number 1 coming out that week, World of Darkness, number 1 by Tim Seeley. And Sounds cool. And then rounding out the rest of the week, we have Aftershock, Search for Who, number 2, which I believe was written by Steve Orlando. Dynamite, Army of Darkness, 1979, number 2. This is written by Rodney Barnes. And Blade Runner Origins from Titan. We mentioned Titan already today. So this is another book from them I've been reading and absolutely loving. Blade Runner Origins #7. But that Army of Darkness book is something else.
Real quick, going back on Search for Who, that I didn't know that was a Rodney book, and I know
No, Search for Who is an Orlando book.
That's Steve Orlando. Oh, okay.
Army of Darkness is Rodney Barnes.
Okay, that's something we may need to. I don't know if you. So that's something I got to go back and take a look at. But Search for Who, I was reading something else from Aftershock. I think it must have been when I was reading Bunny Mask, and I saw that pop up, and I was like, "Ooh, this looks pretty. This looks pretty cool." So I mean, I was it Steve? I did we actually got a chance to meet him when we were at Boston Fan Expo, but it was the pull that he did that I absolutely loved.
Yeah.
But anyways, we move over to week 3 of October, which is the 20th, that Wednesday. Joe, start us off with Marvel, please.
So we have Wolverine 17, Moon Knight #4, Darth Vader #17, United States of Captain America #5, The Death of Doctor Strange #2, X-Men: The Trial of Magneto #3, and Star Wars High Republic #10. A lot of really great books there.
Yeah, I mean the Magneto one it's awesome, and then The Death of Doctor Strange. We'll see how much further we go for, but Moon Knight, Wolverine. I think that's the last issue of the United States of Captain America, by the way. So I will talk about that on the show. Not won't be doing that in the month of October, but at some point I've really enjoyed that so far. Yeah. We got a lot of first issues and then some like weird Halloween specials too for the month.
Yeah. Again, another week of Marvel where their mainline stuff is way more interesting than what their new issues seem to be. So I'll rattle those. They've been doing a lot of these Marvel Voices, so it's a series they're doing. So Marvel Voices, Comunidades.
Comunidades, I think is it. I think it's for something to that effect.
Which is one to check out because that's Rodney Barnes.
Wait a minute, no, that's my fault. Rodney Barnes is
ding dong.
Rodney Barnes is the IG. I don't know what happened on my notes here, but Rodney Barnes is the IG 88 book that's coming out that week for Star Wars War of the Bounty Hunters. The one-off.
That I'll read the hell out of that.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I set you up for failure there.
Yeah, you did. Phoenix Song Echo #1. By Rebecca Roanhorse and Luca Maresca. Daredevil Halloween comic book extravaganza. This just sounds like an annual to me. Sounds like a recap of what's been going on in Daredevil over the past, dozen issues or so.
Yeah. They have they're doing these extravaganzas for Daredevil, for Hawkeye, Kate Bishop's Hawkeye, Star Wars High Republic, Miles Morales as well. So I'm sure there's. They're just trying to get new people in. It makes sense. Halloween, all that kind of shit for sure. Why not? Then we got DC Comics. We got Nightwing 85. Of course, we're really enjoying this. Here's Joe's not happy about Fear State Incorporation, so hopefully we survive this week. Blue and Gold issue 4, or is that 3 that week? I think it's supposed to be 3 that week. I don't know. That's one of those series that keeps getting like pushed around every which way. I don't understand.
I think 4 is accurate. I think
okay. I don't think we've read the third one. Either way.
I fell off. I read the first issue, and I just haven't gone back to it.
Batman versus Big Me, A Wolf in Gotham issue 2. And then we've got, again, Halloween specials. The Batman, The Long Halloween Special, issue 1. Of course, Jeff Loeb wrote that original story. He's writing this one as well. I don't know if this is just, it's 25 years ago. Yep, so there we go. Batman Secret Files Peacekeeper 1. Issue 1. This, they've been doing a bunch of these, and actually Tynan is writing that one. Then we have Catwoman Lonely City issue 1, and Jock is drawing this, so I don't know if that has anything to do with the Batman book he's going to be doing because he's got this thing that he's going to be writing and drawing. Nubia in the Amazons issue 1, which I am interested in that. We have Wonder Woman Day Special Edition issue 1, and then there's one book that's definitely meant to be coming out right around Halloween.
Oh yeah, so for Dorktober or Doctober, I think we've recently dubbed it. But last Dorktober, I did Basket Full of Heads by Joe Hill from Hill House Comics, and so this is sort of a follow up to that. This is called Refrigerator Full of Heads, and this is written by Rio Yours and Tom Fowler, I should say. Hill House Comics is back, and heads are going to roll for making readers wait. The new wave of this is so it's a follow up to Basket Full of Heads. So for a year now, the mysterious axe that unleashed pandemonium during the hurricane of '83 has waited at the bottom of the bay, but nothing that powerful stays buried forever. Brody Island has new visitors and a new sheriff in town too. Not to mention a dangerous great white shark spotted in the water. So a follow up to that book. I absolutely loved it.
You did.
A different writer, but I'm sure it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's under his brand still, so I got to imagine he's got his hand in it somewhere. Now, as much as for however you feel about Marvel and DC that week, the publisher that's going to have the biggest week of all is going to be Image for the week of the 20th of October. Joe, why don't you lay on the people what's coming out that day?
So, King Spawn number 3, Spawn 323, Primordial number 2, Vinyl number 5, Philadelphia 18, Fuck Mom, Mother of Madness number 3, get the hell out of here, Sweet Paprika number 4, Second Chances number 3, A Man Among Ye number 7, and Ice Cream Man number 20.
Unreal. That is an unreal rollout. And look, Image, it feels like we say there's always 1 week a month that's just like, how do you put all this shit out at once? But even if you like move one title to like say 3 of these titles out to other weeks, then like every week's gonna feel like that. It's insane. They have so much good shit. Image is top dog right now in terms of the good stuff that they're putting out. The quality of stuff they're putting out, no one's better than Image right now. Nope. Period. Because they also have 2 number ones that are on our radar for that week, 3 that are on our radar. All 3 of their number ones I'm interested in. We got Gunslinger Spawn issue 1, and that's Todd McFarlane, and then Alice Cott. So I just love seeing somebody else writing this with Todd. I think that's the best move for him. Get different voices in there, and then the artist, he's always mixed in different artists. And you got Brett Booth, who I fucking love. I mean, who doesn't like Brett Booth's shit? His is like, when you're talking about, like, there are different styles. And he draws heroes so fucking well. And I know Gunslinger is going to have more of a like a Western feel, as you would expect. I just think he's awesome, a great guy to have drawing Spawn. And you also have Philip Tan and Kevin Keane, who are going to be drawing on this as well. So I'm all in on this book. And then, but there are a lot of people that there won't be that number 1 book for them that week. There's actually another number 1 that people are going to be maybe even more excited about, Joe.
Nita Hawes' Nightmare Blog number 1, written by Rodney Barnes and drawn by Sean Jason Alexander and Patrick Reynolds. And this is a spinoff of Philadelphia. So to tell you I am pumped and jacked, I didn't screw it up that time, is an understatement. But have you looked at the cover art for this book?
I saw the main cover for it, and it is jarring. Is that Jason Sean Alexander who drew that one? I think it is.
He's drawn a couple of them, all the covers.
The one with the one with the bugs is like, oh fuck, yeah, man, this is gonna be so good. Oh my, you like this? It's from the Philadelphia universe. Like you don't, it doesn't matter. Like I'm in. Absolutely all in.
So I can't wait to read this and talk about that at some point. And then there's one more number 1 that's coming out, Nicholas.
Yeah, we have Hellcop issue 1, which just the name is drawing me in. I don't know, like outside of the synopsis and the name, I don't know much about Brian Haberlin and Gerard Van Dyke. Welcome to Hell. When mankind first broke the walls between dimensions, nothing could have prepared them for what they would find in known reality plane 1301A. It was absolute hell. Literally, I'm interested. I'm not as excited as I am for the other 2, but in fairness, this is something that's starting on its own. But the name is kind of cool and everything, so we'll definitely be reporting back to you guys on this one. We have Berserker, of course, Joe's favorite book, as we mentioned earlier, issue 6
from Boom.
Yes. What did I say?
You didn't say it.
I didn't
jump into it.
Sorry. Eat the Rich, issue 3, Maw 2. Dune, House of Atreides, issue 11, and we only find them when they're dead, issue 9. What about Dark Horse?
I'm gonna have so much to read this fucking week, Nick. It's gonna be bananas. So from Dark Horse, we have Tales from Harrow County, Fair Folk number 4, and then we have a couple number 1s. Critical Role, The Tales of Exandria, The Bright Queen number 1. This is written by Matthew Mercer and Darcy Van Holgeest.
And I'm not even kidding. Like this, the artist on this is listed as Couple of Kooks. I don't know what that means, but the cover art for this was pretty cool.
Yeah, so that one looks interesting. And then the Orville, if you're fans of the show, they've had a couple of comics out. Artifacts number 1. This was written by David A. Goodman and David Kabiza. And then from IDW, we have Usagi Yojimbo, Dragon Bellow, Conspiracy number 5. And they also have a number 1 coming out that week, Dungeons and Dragons Mindbreaker number 1, written by Jim Zub and Eduardo Mello. And then, sorry, go ahead.
No. And then from AWA, we have Fight Girls issue 4 and Not All Robots issue 3, which of course you've been reviewing for Geeks Worldwide, both of those. Vault, there's Human Remains issue 2, and then Aftershock Beyond the Breach issue 4. And then we head over to our last week of the month, which is the 27th. Joe, why don't you get us started with Marvel for that week?
So a light week for Marvel, at least in terms of continuing series. There's a Daredevil 35, So we're close. We're approaching Zdarsky's at least the end of that main story. Then the event will happen. We'll see what happens from there. Black Widow number 12, Winter Guard number 3, and Darkhawk number 3. And then the big number one. There's a couple of them, but the big one first is Venom number 1, which had been previously written by Donny Cates, is now being taken over by Al Ewing and Ram V. And Brian Hitch. So Venom, Al Ewing, Ram V, I'm in.
Yeah. 100%. Yep. And I haven't read a lot of Venom, and I know you talked about Donny Cates run on it, and I would like to go back, but I might give this a shot first just because it's there. Why not? Yeah. Then you have Death of Doctor Strange. You have this is within the series as opposed to dipping into Avengers, which I prefer. This at least this is the better approach. Death of Doctor Strange Avengers issue 1 by Alex Pagnadell, who of course wrote Red Fork, which we love that book from TKO, with Ryan Bodenheim as the artist. And then there's also Darkhold Blade issue 1, which I'm very interested in. This is as much as I'm not sure what all this Darkhold stuff is. I haven't looked into it. But I want more Blade. Give me more Blade. I would love to see more of him. And then another guy who was like, this popped up on my radar. I was like, wait a second. I didn't know this was a thing. Luke Cage, City of Fire issue 1 by Ho Chen Anderson and Fareed Karami. Very much interested in this. This 100%. I think that's going to be really cool. Then we go over to DC Comics, and this is a big week for DC. We got a few huge first issues, but before we get to those, Detective Comics 1044, Robin 7, Deathstroke Inc. issue 2, Superman versus Lobo issue 2. Then for the first issues, I don't need to sell you guys on this one, DC versus Vampires issue 1 by James Tynion and Matthew Rosenberg with Otto Schmidt as the artist. I'm already balls deep into this thing, and I haven't even looked at a single page of it. Although we may already have those, and I got to check with that website. Our review copies, we may already have that. Same goes for Task Force Z issue 1. Again, Matthew Rosenberg, and this is with Eddie Barrows, who drew the series with Chip Zdarsky, the Red Hood series in Batman Urban Legends, and Red Hood is at the center of this shit too. So all in on that. Very excited to give Aquaman, Green Arrow, Deep Target issue 1 a shot, written by Brandon Thomas, who, of course, writes Excellence. Very interested in that. Ronan Cliquette, which you may recognize that name from the Rick Grayson run of Nightwing. So try not to hold it against that guy. It's not his fault, at least I don't think. Then we got Batman Fortnite one-shot issue 1. Scott Snyder's involved in this. I'm not a Fortnite guy, so I'm not going to give it a shot, but maybe Shine will go and give it a read. Who knows? But those are some, like, even without that, they got some, even when you include that, and I think a lot of people will be interested in that. That's a lot of heavy hitting first issues for that week. Yep. Image.
So Image, we have crossover number 9, Radiant Black number 9. Keep your eye on this one because there's going to be some cool stuff with the cover for this particular issue. I believe that Liggins said we interviewed him.
Yeah, it's 9, right? Not 10. Yeah, it's 9.
Yeah. Undiscovered Country number 17, Ice Cream Man 27, The Good Asian number 6, and Frontiersman number 2, which I am not reading.
Okay, and that's fair. I don't know that I'm necessarily going to go either. It was the first one; it was fine, but there's too much. Image alone is putting out too much good shit. And then I got this right here, which I'm interested in: the Magic Order 2, issue 1. And I was like, "Is there a Magic Order 1?" I don't think there is. I couldn't find it, but you guys didn't look hard enough. But this is by Mark Millar and Stuart Immonen. Magical turf war like you've never seen before. The London chapter of the Magic Order has entered the scene, and these tough Guy Ritchie-style gangsters have a problem with the East European warlocks moving into their territory. It doesn't take much for me to get interested in involving magic, so I want to give this a try.
Yeah, I think it's definitely worth giving a shot, and see where it goes.
For all the first issues that we've talked about this week, though, Joe, the biggest one may be coming from Boom. Of course, we have Once and Future, issue 21, and Dark Blood 4, but we also have
House of Slaughter number 1. So this is a spin-off. This is sort of, where something something is killing the children ended. The latest arc has been a bit of a flashback, sort of an origin story for Erica Slaughter. And it's been a perfect lead into what we're going to get here with House of Slaughter number 1, written by Tynion and Tom Bromball. And they got Chris Sheehan, who is the artist on the autumnal, to be the artist on this book, along with, jeepers, what's his name? But anyways,
you're all in on this.
Yeah, I'm all in on this. I can't. So this is going to be taking a look more at one of the other characters from House of from Something's Killing Children, Aaron, and sort of his backstory, and more about the House of Slaughter, but more about that world in general. So I am You want to talk about balls deep? I'm in it, baby.
All in on this shit for sure. All right, from AWA, we have Marjorie Finnegan, Temporal Criminal, issue 6, and Moths 5. From IDW, the only thing I think at all that's coming out this week was the TMNT Best of April O'Neil, issue 1, which I think it's really smart that they're doing all these best of with Last Ronin going on.
And it's the one cover I don't like.
Oh man, I really did not like this one. From Dark Horse, we have Black Hammer Reborn issue 5. And then we have another Hellboy. I think it's going to be a one-off. The last one was a one-off too. If not, it's going to be a mini-series. Hellboy: The Silver Lantern Club issue 1. Anything Hellboy, I'm interested in reading, as much as that movie was a bit of a letdown for a lot of people. From Vault, we have The Last Book You'll Ever Read issue 4, and The Rush. Is that the first issue, I think, of that for that one? And then Aftershock, Joe. We got a couple of first issues that you wanted to highlight.
Yeah, so one, and this is just sort of like, I believe it's a one-off. It's from Colin Bunn, Jim Starlin, Frank Thierry, Joe Pruitt. This is a bit of an anthology book. So After Dark #1, Tales from the Crypt meets the Twilight Zone. 4 tales of horror, lost souls, and things that go bump in the night. So one-off anthology or one-off horror book with a bunch of different stories in it. I'm in, especially when one of them is Cullen Bunn, right?
Yep. Well, one shocks that have been pretty impressive so far, especially when Cullen's done them. So yeah, this is now keep paying attention to Aftershock and if they announce anything, because when we just a peek behind the curtain, when Joe and I were getting our list together, originally this was in the first half of the month. Yeah. Then it got moved to the 3rd week, and then we saw the 4th week. So, per League of Comic Geeks, which is where we get our layout for all of this shit. So
this really has to come out in October, though, because this book doesn't make any sense in November.
Exactly.
And then the last book that comes out in the last week of October from Aftershock, Cross to Bear #1 by Marko Stojanovic and Sinisa Bonovic. Jack the Ripper was never caught because no one was looking for him in the Wild West. No one except the Order, an organization made up of descendants of the Crusaders, sworn to eradicate the unnatural.
This sounds fucking amazing, Joe.
Yeah,
that sounds so. Oh, I'm so in on that. Real quick, just to circle back, because I did mention The Rush. That is the first issue of The Rush coming out the week of October 27th, and that is actually by Cy Spurrier. So that's someone else who I like their work quite a bit. Yeah. All right, Joe. So as we mentioned, for next week, we're going to be doing something a little different with our omnibus issue. Okay, it's the 50th issue of TLDR Mainline. So make sure you guys come prepared for that. You make sure you listen to the Pineapple Boys. Change My Mind as well. Pineapple Boys is, of course, on Thursdays. Make sure you follow Doc over on Twitch at Backcracker as well. Anything else, Joe, that I'm forgetting?
That's it, baby. I'm pumped for the omnibus.
Yes, it's going to be fun. And then, so until then, Joe, stay sexy.
You know it.